Chapter 12. Exiting Gaza. Takes 1 and 2. Dr. Bill. Friday, August 29th, 2008. We go to the Erez crossing again, where we walked in solidarity with our Palestinian brothers and sisters singing "We Shall Overcome" and "Give Peace a Chance." Using my best Reagan imitation, I shouted, "Mr. Olmert, tear down this wall." We could hear frantic shouting in Hebrew from behind the concrete guard towers, but could see no one. We made it right up to the iron gate. This gate was sealed shut, of course. But this time, the cameras were rolling. Al Jazeera, Ramatan, and Press TV were present. And for a moment, the whole world was witnessing Israel denying medical care to a poor, defenseless woman and others. If there were only Palestinians among us, and whether or not cameras were rolling, I'm sure that the Israeli soldiers would have shot, and that the world would have barely noticed. That is sad commentary but true, unfortunately. A few Palestinians on the other side of the gate shook hands with us through the iron pickets. Now we were blocking their return to Gaza. There is no way we could physically move this woman any farther, and then the Israeli guards threatened to close the border and deny our new friends on the other side of the gate their way back home. So we finally retreated with their pledge that she might get across in a couple of days. Dr. Mona takes us a couple kilometers southeast to the border town of Beit Hanan. I have some unfinished business I want to tend to. I want to visit the Al-Thamna family, 19, who were massacred by Israeli shelling while they slept in their large family apartment on the early morning of November 8, 2006. Several neighbors also died that morning, and more than 45 were wounded. Archbishop Desmond Tutu was sent by the UN to investigate this massacre, but he was held up by Israel. He was unable to enter Gaza until 17 months afterward. At that time, during November 2006, I was volunteering with the Palestine Medical Relief Society. I entered Gaza and visited Beit Hanan a week after the Israeli siege surrounded and isolated this town. The morning after the tanks and military bulldozers pulled out, the artillery massacre of the Al-Thamna family immediately followed. When I visited with members of this extended family a week later, they were still in the early stages of their collective grief. I have thought about this family often in the ensuing months. How could I forget them? I just couldn't leave their collective tragedy behind me, because it is the worst I had ever seen. I have sent them money, which seemed like an awkward, empty gesture at the time, given the enormity of their loss. But it was all I could do. I couldn't change the indifference of our stand-in US ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton, when he vetoed a UN resolution condemning this act. But as a US citizen, I feel somehow responsible. Today, their large cinder block apartment looks much the same as it did during that horrific November day back in 2006, except the stairwell, which had been blown wide open by the first artillery shells that struck the apartment that day. It has again been sealed. Family members feel Israel attacked the stairwell first to impede exit from the building. Survivors, who still needed to use that stairwell, no longer risk accidentally tripping and falling to their death. This was certainly possible the last time, when I climbed through the ruins of this apartment. The gaping holes made by artillery rounds in the wall in front of their building have been repaired, as have the huge holes in the walls and ceilings of the apartment units themselves. I asked for Majdi Al-Thamna, who was my previous contact. He had told me back then that he was only alive by the will of God. He lost his son and 3 brothers that day, and his wife and other son were in critical condition at the hospital. Majdi is not available right now. Maybe he is not here, or maybe he just can't deal with it. We do not ask further. So Majdi's mother greets us all, and invites us into the ground floor foyer adorned with all the memorial posters honoring the lost family members. No, their grief has not really eased with time. This blow has been much too devastating. Our visit today seems like we are pulling off a scab. Majdi's mother is again moved to tears as she recounts losing 3 sons and 5 grandchildren in one 10-minute attack. She tells us the story in great detail, as well as the story of those permanently wounded. There are still the seriously injured survivors, some of who are around us today. One child, who looks about 15 years of age, suffered a serious head injury. The entire right side of his skull is caved inward. He moves with a coarse jerky gait, and his eye wiggles back and forth constantly. His intellect is damaged, for sure, and his speech is impaired. 2 years ago, he was a normal child. Family members plead with us to get him out of Gaza, so he can see a neurosurgeon who can fix all this. I know damn well that his severe disabilities will not respond to neurosurgery or much else at this point. He will be damaged for the rest of his life as a result of the Israeli artillery attack on his family. Another child is hopping around the room on one leg because the other one was amputated below the knee, a direct result of the carnage that day. His family claims that he still does not have an artificial leg. Perhaps something meaningful could be done for this child. The level of sorrow in this family, nearly 2 years after the fact, is overwhelming. I offer the grandmother a Native American hat decorated with a rose, another meaningless gesture given the enormous cruelty of it all, but it is all I have at the moment. It is clear that the survivors of this extended family are living in grinding poverty. Their collective sorrow has been largely forgotten by the world. We say goodbye to the Alathamna family and head back to Gaza City for a rest. Tomorrow, 4 of the 10 of us Free Gaza movement passengers that remain will try exiting through Rafah to Egypt. Bella. Subject: No. 20. Casablanca on the Gaza Sea. Reprinted from Sharon Locke, Gaza Beneath the Bombs, London, Pluto Press, 2010, p. 205. The outdoor restaurant overlooking the sea that belongs to the Al Daira Hotel has been nicknamed Casablanca without the alcohol by Dr. Bill. Here, we internationals and Palestinians alike sit, looking out over the moonlit water, sharing an argula pipe, and discussing rumors about the Rafah border. Will it open? If so, when, and for whom? People tell each other about what documents they have obtained, what connections they have made, which consulate may be arranging a visa for them. They show pictures of the husbands, wives, children, and lovers who are waiting in other lands. They talk about their coordination toward getting out. Until now, this border with Egypt, the only way Palestinians with no other passport may come or go from Gaza, has opened 6 days this year. But we hear it will open again for 2 days before Ramadan begins this Saturday and Sunday. No, Tuesday until Thursday. Definitely Saturday, but Sunday is unsure. Saturday, but only for the sick traveling for treatment. No, Saturday for foreign passport holders, and Sunday for the sick. Maybe also Monday, the first day of Ramadan. No, not Monday, only if your name is on the published list. No, you can try, even if your name is not published. We internationals catch the underlying anxiety, move as the locals do from table to table, to sit briefly. What did you hear? Who can give permissions? Write your name on this list. Dr. Iyad will make for us the contact. Our new Palestinian passports will make things better for us. No, they will make things worse for us. Over the last days, I call the Australian consulate who offers no help or information other than to note that Israel says those who arrive by the boat must leave by the boat. What does Israel's opinion have to do with the Egyptian border, I wonder? The British consulate however comes to meet us and says our best chance is to leave on the Saturday after this. It may be impossible, even for us. I forlornly let go of my wished for extra week. We will leave at 7 AM with a police escort. This will get us past many gates. This last is obviously not my favorite idea, but I have a plan to bring 4 Palestinians with me, and so I'm taking any special treatment I can on behalf of them. N and K are 2 lovely sisters who have tried 4 times over 9 months to leave to take up their study visas in Spain and have not even been let out through the Palestinian side. Now the visas are running out, and Spain has told them to go to Cairo to renew them. Spot the obvious problem with that? Do you have arrangements waiting from the Egypt side? I ask them, wondering if they have a place to stay if the border crossing occurs late. If we cross, we have a whole life waiting for us, replies NJ has no arrangements, but wants to go to study. W came from Paris for a visit back home to Gaza 1.5 years ago, has been unable to get back out. He has an activist French wife, married against all her principles as the only possible route to a shared country, with whom he has been trying to reunite. She has been waiting for him in Paris these past few years. We bid them goodbye on Friday night, but Vic and I sit up late in Casablanca with Dr. Dolph, who serenades us on an oud lute with traditional songs until early morning. I smoke nargileh in the hope of easing some of my sadness at leaving. My favorite song contains lyrics along the lines of, "Don't ask me what is my address, I have no home in this world. I'm everyone, in every place, and no place is mine." We meet our Palestinian friends again, virtually at the same table, again in the early morning, so we can sit together and wait for the call to go. They arrive at 7 AM, and we are not told to come until 2 PM. Most Palestinians have been queuing at the border since 7 AM, so we are lucky to be able to sit here by the sea, telling stories of romance and visas. W describes meeting his fiancée during a Paris demonstration. J calls, he's gone directly to Rafah and thinks he will try independently of us. Dr. Bill's account. Saturday, August 30th, 2008. Following the departure of the FG boats, 3 of us are staying at Dr. Riyad Seraj's apartment in Gaza City. Bella is staying with Dr. Mona El Farah, and the other 6 activists are in the process of moving to Rafah and being absorbed into the community. There, they will breathe new air into a reconstituted international solidarity movement in Gaza. Since 2003, after the killing of Westerners like Rachel Corrie, James Miller, and Tom Herndl, the Israeli occupation authorities made it virtually impossible for ISIM activists to cross from Israel into the Gaza Strip. ISIM has continued to be active in the West Bank, where it is more difficult for the Israeli occupation authorities to control their entrance and exit. In Gaza, there has been only one entrance for internationals, the Erez checkpoint. Consequently, it has been easier for ISIM to be blocked from Gaza. But the sea route now opens new possibilities. Bella, Lauren Booth, and I plan to exit Gaza today through Rafah. Bella, Sharon Locke, needs to get back to the UK, where she is scheduled to begin midwifery school in a couple of weeks. Lauren Booth plans to get reunited with her husband and 2 daughters, who have been waiting for her in France. I need to get back to work as a family and a physician in a small town on the lee side of the Cascade Mountains back in central Washington state. My first office day is supposed to be in about a week. We are all at the home of Dr. Riyad Seraj, waiting for word that the border is open for us. We play American and British music and copy a few CDs for Dr. Mona. Finally we hear that a police convoy will take us to Rafah. Our convoy leaves Gaza City on some sort of James Bond, white-knuckle, high-speed chase down the Salah al-Din highway past pedestrians and donkey carts. We are not all flattered by the VIP treatment, some of us are upset by it. I'm glad for all of us that our drivers are skilled and no one gets hit or injured. It seems to be more dangerous than necessary though. We clear the Palestinian gate, and I hand my remaining shekels through the fence to a Palestinian boy on the Gaza side of Rafah. If things go as planned, I will be spending Egyptian lira from now on. We pass through the departure terminal on the Palestinian side that was built by the Israelis and receive departure stamps in our passports. We have completed the hurry up part of today's journey. Now it is time for the wait part. We load our luggage on a bus full of Palestinians who are also trying to get out. There is a queue of buses all jam-packed with Palestinians and maybe a few Egyptians. Now nothing moves for hours as we sit and stand in the heat on these overcrowded buses. We are told that we are waiting for the Egyptian authorities to clear buses full of Palestinians who are trying to enter Gaza. Since this is only the 7th day that the Rafah border has been open all year, there are too many people trying to cross all at once. The Egyptian clerks who process the people trying to cross are overwhelmed. It seems that decisions about who gets through and who gets sent back are quite arbitrary. After 2.5 hours in the intense heat, we all get off of the bus in the middle of no man's land, with walls and barriers all around us. We sit in the grass and wait an hour more. Finally we get back on the bus, which creeps along at a snail's pace. An hour later, we finally clear the Egyptian gate at the Yellowstone Wall.